Okay, so now the session is being recorded. So guys, we'll get started from where we left. In the last session, we started talking about a new shape. Can anybody recall which shape is that?
Decision shape.
Okay, so we started talking about a new shape, and that shape is nothing but a decision shape. In which category does decision shape fall? Is it under
Logic.
execute, logic, or
Logic.
connect? So it is a logical shape. And what does it do? It evaluates certain conditions and alters the flow of execution. So what are the two different branches that come out of the decision branch?
True and false.
Okay, so
True
there are
or
two
false.
different branches which come out of it. Those are true or false. So can it ever happen that both true and false gets executed?
Yes.
And when can that happen? So for a
Depends on data.
given document, out of true or false, only one branch will get executed. But if you have the data that is split across multiple documents, right? Then we may have scenarios where some of the documents go to true branch, right? And others go to false branch, right? I hope we are good with this, right? Now, this true or false, do these execute in parallel? So for the second scenario where we have multiple documents, right? And let's say few are qualifying for true and other are qualifying for false. So in that case, do these true or false execute in parallel?
No.
True will execute
True
first.
will execute.
Always true will execute.
True will execute first and then the control will go to the false. Okay, next question is, if let's say true fails because of some reason, right? Will the control go to false? Okay, so answer is until and unless true successfully gets executed, control will never go to false. Okay, so true should complete its execution gracefully and then only the control will go to the false branch. Unless true gets executed, control will not go to the false branch, right? After that, we started experimenting with different documents, if you remember, right? So first we were reading single employee data, right? And when we were reading single employee data, we understood that this decision shape was working absolutely fine. We kept a condition on which parameter? We kept a condition on location, right? So if the location is empty, we are trying to filter out such document, right? So first we tried with a scenario wherein we had separate file for each employee, right? And if let's say there are 10 employees and for each employee there is a separate file, how many documents does that result into from the BOOMI standpoint? If I if I have 10 employees data, each employee data is represented in separate file, then how many documents do we get in BOOMI?
10 documents.
10 documents. Anyone who feels answer is incorrect?
If you, it depends on the operation, like in the connection operation, if you give all the files, then it takes all the files.
Yeah, let's assume that we are trying to read all the files in the operation, right? Then in that case, answer is that for each employee data, there'll be a corresponding document in BOOMI. So if there are 10 employees related file, then it will result into 10 documents in BOOMI, right? And when 10 documents come to decision shape, how is the flow of control? How is the execution done? Is first document executed completely and then the control comes to the second one, or these are executed simultaneously?
It throws an error, I feel.
Question is, if let's say there are 10 documents which are coming to the decision shape, right? Will those 10 documents be evaluated simultaneously, or first of all, the first document will complete the entire execution and then the second document will start?
They execute in chunks.
Yes, so these execute in chunks. So the default behavior is if 10 documents come to the decision shape, all 10 will be executed simultaneously and it will be decided how many of them qualify for true, how many of them qualify for false. The ones which qualify for true will be sent to the true branch. If true branch successfully executes, then the ones which qualify for the false branch will go to the false branch. Guys, I think in one day you have kind of forgot everything. I don't know. Nobody else is answering. So is there any question so far? And then we started with a different scenario, right? Where the 10 employees data is there in a single file, right? So in order to accommodate that scenario, did we make any changes in the profile? If you recall, we did make some change in the profile, isn't it? So this was the latest profile. We created a new root element with the name employees, and within that single employee element, and which is that attribute we modified so that we can accommodate the data for multiple employees. This max occurs is unbounded. If this max occurs unbounded is not true for this employee, then this profile will not be able to accept the data for multiple employees. Or even if sometimes it does not throw error, it may not work as expected, right? So just give me a minute. So what I'm trying to say is it is very, very important to understand that for employee, we made max occurs is unbounded so that we can accept the multiple employee data. Max occurs means for this employee element, how many maximum occurrences are possible? Multiple maximum occurrences are possible. I don't know how many of you remember, but when we were looking at the file, right, there were multiple employees data, right? So our profile should be capable of accommodating multiple employees data. That's why we had to change the profile. Now, what is another thing you observed, right? We made the change in the profile, that's fine. Did you observe any change in the behavior of the decision shape when we had a single file with multiple employees data?
Yeah, it was validating only first employee.
It was validating only first employee because decision shape does not iterate over all the documents. It basically looks into the first occurrence only. So that is the behavior of the decision shape. By default, what does decision shape do? Decision shape will only validate the first occurrence of that specific element, and accordingly it will make decision. So if you recall, this is the file which we had, right? In this file, we have employees data. There is employee number 1, 2, and 3, right? And whatever is the condition, or if the condition qualifies for this particular instance as true, the whole document will go to true. If the condition qualifies as false for this first employee, the whole document will go to false. The point I'm trying to make is decision shape is not going to split this single document on its own into multiple different documents. Decision shape job is give pass a document to a decision shape, define one condition, and it will evaluate that condition. When it finds only one occurrence of that element which is used in the condition, then you will not see an issue. But if you find multiple occurrences of an element, right, which needs to be evaluated, then the decision shape may not work as expected because the decision shape is going to only check the first occurrence of that element. This is an important interview question. Even when you're working in real time, you will encounter this kind of scenarios very, very frequently. Any questions? Anyone who does not understand anything so far? Okay, a quick question then. If this is the file, okay, and my condition in the decision shape is if it is equal to, if it is not equal to empty, the location is not equal to empty, then the control should go to the true branch. Then you have to tell me with this data being there in the file which is being read, where the whole document would be passed, whether it will go to the true branch or false branch.
False.
False.
Anyone who feels that it should go to the true branch? Okay, now let's assume we'll just quickly run it, okay, just to make sure it is going to the false branch. So we select an atom, right? It is going to the false branch. Can you guys see? And in the false branch, how many documents do we get to see? 3, 1.
1.
1.
Anybody feels 3 documents will come to the false branch? We go to the shape source data, we see only 1 document. And this document will be equivalent to the document which is being read by the disconnector, right? You can see over here. All right. But do you think it is the right behavior?
No.
Okay, it's not the right behavior. The right behavior should have been the employees which had the employee location as empty should have come to the false branch, and the employees which has the employee location populated should go to the true branch. And in real time, the scenarios which you will encounter is that you may not have separate file for each employee, you may have a single file. Now, so how do we work out about it? So what we are going to do is, okay, now if I ask you, let's say you don't know about BOOMI, okay? You are just understanding this problem statement. Now you understand that there is a problem, right? And forget about BOOMI. But if this is the file and you know the problem statement is the whole data is going to the one branch, but that should not happen. What do you think will be this? What is the solution that comes to your mind? Don't answer from BOOMI perspective. If you already know the answer, don't answer, please. I mean, some people have already gone through my videos. Don't answer. Other people will not understand. So my question is, if this is the problem statement where we have, these all data and we want the right data to go to the right branch, how will you address that problem statement? Is there any methodology which strikes your mind? You feel that, okay, if I am able to achieve this, then definitely the required output can be also achieved. Anyone? Yeah, please give it a try, guys.
So what is the question, Sumit? Can you say that one more time?
I've repeated 4 times here. You have to be a little more attentive in the session. Guys, if you're joining from phone and you're thinking you're watching movie and anything else in parallel, my sessions are not going to help. Okay, just it will be beneficial that you don't join these sessions. My question is, if this is a single employee data, employees file in which we have multiple employees data right now, in the decision shape, the condition works only for the first element, and accordingly the flow of execution is decided. Now I don't want that to happen. I would want that the behavior should be all the employees which has the location populated should go to the true branch, and the employees which does not have the location populated should go to the false branch. So what should we do about it?
So I think we have to split that data into multiple files, and
Okay,
based on the data, the first file will check, and if the first file is
absolutely, very
true.
nice. So if we have the 3 employees data, if I can somehow divide this single file which will be represented as a single document in BOOMI into 3 different documents or into n number of documents where each document represent one employee data, if somehow I can do that, then it becomes easier to achieve the required business functionality. What I'm trying to say is, if this file has, let's say, 100 employees data, if somehow I can write a mechanism such that each employee data is present in a separate file, which in BOOMI terminology will be called as a separate document, and then those separate documents go to the decision shape, then my job will be achieved. Because if you remember, when we had different files for different employees, we were able to achieve the required business functionality, right? The only problem is right now I have the complete data set coming in a single file, right? So we can read it as a single file. After this, what we can add? We can add another shape called as a data process shape. This is a very, very important shape. This shape can do a lot of manipulations, a lot of different types of operations. When you start working in BOOMI, this is one of the very, very important shapes we have, and you can do numerous operations. Okay, so if you see here, the data process shape provides you with a number of options for manipulating document data. Yes. So if we are manipulating data, which category of the shapes should it fall into?
True or false?
Execute.
Decision.
It should fall into the
Execute.
execute category. Okay. Do you see it is under execute category? Yes or no? Under execute, I click on execute and here you find a data process shape. So as I gave you the definitions also, the execute category is the one where you can do the manipulation of the documents. And the point I'm trying to tell you is there are numerous operations you can do in the data process shape. So if you click on plus, you will see these are the operations you can do, right? You can do search replace, you can zip something, you can unzip, you can do XSLT transformation, you can encrypt the data, you can split the documents. There are a lot of stuffs which you can do, right? Do you see any operation which will help us to split the single document?
Split documents.
There is an operation called a split documents. I will select this and I will see if I can split my one document into multiple documents. Guys, please focus. This is very, very important to understand. Now, question for you, or I'll ask people specifically because no one is answering. Okay, Amar or Shravani, question for you that here it is asking another option called as profile type. What do you think is the right profile type as per the data which is being read? So here in the drop down, these are the options we have. What do you think should be the profile type? Which type of file are we trying to split right now? Guys, are you there? Can you hear me? I am not taking a college lecture, yaar. I really feel annoyed with this kind of attitude. People have to speak. We are waking up early in the morning to pass some knowledge. If you can speak, otherwise I'll continue because I don't want to take 10 sessions to be until here. I can finish off half BOOMI by 10 sessions.
XML file.
Why does it take 5 minutes here to speak that 3-letter word XML? I don't know, yaar. People say that we don't get a job, and this is the reason why people don't get the job because they don't speak. Okay, anyhow, this is the profile which we were trying to read, right? XML employees data. And another important thing is about split element, right? A lot of people get confused. What is split element? Split element has to be the one which typically repeats, right? So if we go here, out of all these elements, right, which is the element that is repetitive? Employee, right?
Employee.
Yes, under employees, for employee, we selected max occurs as unbounded. So employee element is the one which is repetitive. I will select this. I will show the configurations again. So we went to the data process shape. We selected split documents. Why we have selected split documents is because there is a single XML file which is being read from the source. We are trying to go and convert that into n number of files, and that n is equivalent to the number of employees data present in the file. That file is an XML type. That's why we are selecting profile type as XML. Then we selected the profile. So profile was already created. If you remember, other day we created the profile and that's why we are using it. Is profile a shape or a component?
Component.
Component.
Very nice. Profile is a component. And another thing is split element. Split element means the element which is going to be repetitive has to be selected as a split element. So I select employee. I hit OK. I hit save. Okay. So now before I even execute until here, I will just check that when I added a new shape in my process, is that working as expected, right? If you remember, I have been re-emphasizing on the fact that you should not run everything in a single go. You should always continue testing your process in chunks, right? So if you see, like couple of sessions back, we only had disconnector, map shape, and the database connector. Now we are adding many other shapes. So now we know start shape starts with which type of document? It will give an empty document or XML document.
Empty document.
And why empty document?
It's not getting any data, so it produces empty document.
Yes, it's of no data type. It is not reading any data from anywhere. It's an empty document. So from the disconnector, we get a document. So if I come to the data process shape and I see shape source data, we see how many documents? Only one document. Now I go to the stop shape, which is immediately after the data process shape. How many documents do we see, guys?
3.
3.
Three.
Can anybody answer why we see 3 documents?
Because there are 3 employees.
Absolutely correct. Because there are 3 employees data, and that's why it is resulting into 3 documents. Now what we'll do is we'll go back here and let's say we try to add another employee. Okay, these all are fundamentals. I'm emphasizing on these because if you don't understand this, you will not understand next things for sure. Okay, so please make sure you do understand it. We have Ram and we'll make this Ram as Sham. Okay, now I'll just run the test again. So out of the disconnector, how many documents we'll get now?
1.
1. And after data process shape, how many documents should I get?
4.
4. Very
Four.
nice. I come to the stop shape. Do we have 4 documents? So just seeing 4 documents will not help. I have seen cases where we do something wrong and we don't see the right data. So please verify your data. Okay. So first one was for Sumit. Second one is for, you don't need, if you have 1000, you cannot verify 1000. Yeah. You can verify 4 or 5. That's fine. Second one is Amit. Third one is Ram. And fourth one is Sham. I mean, it has to be Sham. Let's see. It is Sham, right? So we understood about one more operation, that is splitting the documents. And which shape is helping us to split the documents?
Process.
Data process.
Very
Data
nice.
process.
Data process. Very nice. So now this data process will go to the decision shape, right? And what does this decision shape do? It is going to check the location value for each and every document, and the documents which will qualify for true should go to the true branch, and the ones which qualify for the false should go to the false branch. And this all happens sequentially. So first of all, the control comes to the true branch and then it goes to the false branch. And how do we check it out? Let's click on test and let's run the test. Okay, so now we run the test. Decision, everything is going to the false. So now let's revisit the file. Okay, I think I closed the file by mistake. So for this location was not there, for second location was not there, third, fourth, for any of these location was not there, right? So if you go back in false branch, how many documents should we get?
4.
Come to this shape source data.
4.
How many of these are there?
4.
4, right? Did control go to the true branch?
No, because
No.
location was not mentioned.
Right, because it is not mandatory that the control will always go to the true branch, right? Because none of the documents qualified for the true criteria. That's why everything went into the false branch. Now I go back and I change the location for this. Let's say US. Okay, I just save it. Okay, now guys, you have to tell me how many documents will go to the true and how many of them will go to false.
1 to true and 3 to false.
False.
Any other answer from anyone? Okay, all of you feel the same, that 1 will go to true and 3 will go to the false. Let's check it out. Okay, so now you see both are getting executed. Yes. So in true, how many documents? Only 1 document, right? And in false, how many documents?
3.
3. So we are good so far, right? No question. All right. Now I'll ask the question specifically to 2 people. Now I make a small change in my process. There is a flag in the stop shape, continue processing other execution paths. I will uncheck it here. Now the question is for Ramya, okay, or anyone also can answer. Okay. Now, Sushmita, I don't want you to answer. Okay. I don't want all the answers to come from one person.
No, only one document will go to true and nothing will go to false, because you have told you have made end and return, right?
I told that I don't want you to answer. I want
No,
another
it's
person.
Ramya. Always
it's-
I am answering. You're getting confused.
Okay, then nice. Okay, so even before I executed, I think Ramya answered that one will only go to true and nothing will go to false, and she gave the correct reason. And the reason is, here there is a flag which we can keep as checked or unchecked. By default it is always checked, but if we uncheck it, it kind of terminates the flow of execution. It will not let any other path to also get executed, right? So I think we are good with this, because these all questions you will find in your certification exams, and these all are basics. Okay, you have to understand these shapes in detail, right? There might be few other perspectives to these shapes which you can explore yourself, but I'm trying to cover majority of use cases you will come across, so that whenever a problem statement comes, automatically an image should start forming in your mind. Okay, for this kind of a problem statement, these are the shapes I will choose, and these are the configurations I will do, right? Okay, so now what we decided is, the ones which qualify for true should go to which branch? This branch. And in this branch we added a database connector, map shape and all. Now I'll go back to this mapping. I will just check my mapping once again. Why I'm checking mapping once again is because I made a change in the profile. Yes or no? But when I made a change in the profile, do you see any change happen? I mean, do you see those mappings are still intact? Yes or no? So nothing got disconnected. Everything is in place. Now the next thing is, if let's say I want to say the notice period always is, let's say 30 days. Okay. Regardless of anything, uh, I want to decide that the notice period will be 30 days. Okay. So now the question is for Sai. We have two different Sais in the group. What do you think is can be done if I want to decide that the notice period will be always 30 days? What do you think can be done to achieve that functionality? Or anyone can answer. I mean, it's not necessary that if
Set
Sai.
default in that notice period. Set default value to
Very nice. We can
30
set
days.
default value, and this is how we set the default value, 30 days, and it is done, right? Now my requirement is that this 30 should come into the picture if no mapping is happening. Otherwise, the value should come from the mapping, right? So in that case, we need to define some mapping for this. Yes or no? We need to define some mapping for this. So when you go to the functions, there are different categories of the function: user defined, string related, numeric, data, and blah, blah, blah. But now one thing we have to understand it while doing the mappings, if you want to write some if else conditions, right? So my scenario is, let's say, uh, maybe if the, let's say right now here, if I want to define the condition, if the location is US, the notice period is 30 days. If the location is India, the notice period is 60 days, something like that. Okay. Or if the location is US, 30 days, else for all other locations, the notice period is 60 days, right? So for that to happen, whenever you have this kind of scenarios, right, where you're doing mappings and you have to write some if else conditions, you have to always use scripting. So there is an option called as custom scripting. Now the moment I start talking about scripting, a lot of people get panicked, that we have to write coding. So you have to write some very minimal coding. Don't worry. So you have two languages which are supported, Groovy and JavaScript. If you're a Groovy expert, go for it. Generally, the recommendation is, until Groovy is really required, you can go for JavaScript, because JavaScript is more lightweight. Okay. So what we are doing is, we are using a function. And what kind of function is this? Under which category we got this function? Under custom scripting category. And which language have we selected? The JavaScript. Yes. So there are three sections here. Here is a section which says scripts to execute, which means here you will write some script that will get executed. Now for this script to execute, you have to pass some input, and from this script you will get some output. So for example, my input is, what should be my input, guys? On which parameter do I need to take the whole uh, on which parameter do I need to define the complete condition right now for notice period?
Notice period.
No,
Location.
location, right? Input is location and output will be
Notice.
notice period. Okay, so you follow some proper casing. Right now I'm following like, kind of lower casing for variables. So now what I'll write is if, so this, whenever you're writing condition, right, this has to match. If you don't know, just search like this, how to write if condition, okay, in JavaScript. Don't worry, I mean 90% of the people do like this only. Okay, so if you do not know, go to this JavaScript if else statements. From here you will get the syntax, right? So for example, their variable, there is if condition, and here there are conditions for if else also. Right now this looks perfect for us. If you don't, if you understand this, if you already know this, need not to go, or else you can always look into this examples. I will write if location equal to what? US. Then what I need to do? NP is equal to 30, else NP is equal to 60. I think in JavaScript, if you write a semicolon or if you don't write a semicolon, that does not make a difference. But if you want, you can write a semicolon at the end. Some people might feel that I'm not adding these curly braces. So if you have only one statement under a block, curly braces are optional, right? So now the condition is if location is equal to US, NP is equal to 30, else NP is equal to 60, right? Make sure the variable names exactly match. If you make NP as like this, okay, so you will always wonder why this NP is coming as empty, because, and the reason for that would be that you have not chosen the right casing, right? So now what should be the mapping? Location and this notice period. And at the same time, we are setting some default value also. Yes. If you want that, so what will, so default value will always come into the picture, or it will come into the picture for only specific cases?
It should come only for specific.
Yeah, it will only come into the picture for the cases wherein we don't have any
Location.
location. Very nice. But that part we have already taken care. Yes or no? In the decision shape itself. Isn't it? We have already taken care of that. So ideally we should not need this default, but anyhow, if even we have it, that's fine. So now even before the control goes to this database connector, right? I want to keep a stop shape and I want to observe my data.
Excuse me, Sumit, can you show that one more JavaScript?
Yeah, sure. So what I've done is here I'll just expand. So if you want to expand the elements, there is an option expand. Okay. Here you want to expand, there is option, right? So now here I'm passing location as an input, and here I'm writing this small condition. Okay, let me bring it up in the notepad also so that you guys have it handy. If location equal to US, NP is equal to 30, else NP equal to 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this location is the input and NP is the output, right? So whatever value of NP will come, that I'm mapping to the actual NP, which will go to the database. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But then, do we need that default value, or we can remove it?
Ideally, we don't need it, to be very honest. Okay. Now what might happen is if there is no location, right? So if there is no location, then also I think else will come into the picture. So you may not need it at all. Yeah. You can, even if you want, you can remove it.
Yes.
Okay. That's fine. So now for the input, which is coming into the true branch, right? What is the location as per our file? As per our file, how many
US.
documents are coming to the true branch?
One.
One, right? And the location for that one employee is
US.
US. So what is the expected notice period as per our script that should go to the database?
30.
30.
30. Very nice. So let's check it out. So don't panic in writing these small scripts. Okay, there is a very nice compiler. I will tell you which is that. Everything got executed, so nothing got failed, which is good. if you come here into the map, you can see some logs. Which types of logs are these called as? Shape level logs. Yes. So in the shape level logs, if you see what is the output for notice period? 30. Yes. You can see it started executing from somewhere here, right? Location, then scripting, then NP. NP is 30 or not? And that same value got passed to the NP in uppercase, right? So it is working as expected. If you want to double check, you go here and you change the logic to 45. So let's assume for US location, how many days of notice period do we have? 45 days. Everything gets executed successfully. Right now the data is going into the database for all these executions.
No,
No, why no?
because after that mapping, you have put the stop sheet.
Very nice. The data is not going to the database because we have added a stop shift, which is aborting the flow of execution there and then. So now, if you see here, can you see 45 days output? It means our script is working absolutely fine. There is another editor. I think the name of the editor is Rexstar, not, I think it's a Rexstar. Okay, Rex tester is the one. Here you can go for JavaScript. You can select JavaScript. And so now, right now what happens in sometimes we have a lot of code. So we want to test our small JavaScript codes separately, right? So in that case, you can use this one compiler and you can run your scripts here before you take them to BOOMI. Okay, I will give that in notes, that which compiler is that. All right. So far we are good. Okay. Question for anyone other than Ramya. Why don't we see anything coming to the false branch? We see 4 documents which came out of this decision shape. I mean, after the data process shape, we see one going to this map, right, and doing the transformation. What happened to rest of the 3?
Can I answer?
Because in the scripting you have written, no?
No.
No.
End shape, you didn't check that box like end and continue.
Very nice. If you see in this, I did not check end and continue. That's why those 3 documents never got any executed to any of the branch. Now I will say end and continue and let's see the behavior. Now can you see the control is going both to true branch as well as the false branch? Yes. And in false, how many documents? 3. Correct. If I see these logs, view log, which types of logs are these called as?
Process level logs.
Process level logs. Very nice. If you go here, we have a data process shape, we have a decision shape. If you see in the decision shape, which is the component which is getting executed first? Employee XML to DB transformation, right? And this DB transformation is in which branch? True branch or false branch? This is in true branch, right? So that means true branch always gets executed first and then the control comes to the false. I think we do understand this. Okay. I think I have tried to cover different permutations and combinations. So now we can bring it back like this. Okay. So before we run it, what we'll do is we'll just turn on our database SQL plus. Okay. And if you remember the name of the table, what was that? APR employees. Okay, this was the data. So what I'll do is before I run my process, I'll delete everything from here. So what does it say? No rows selected, which means there is no data right now in the table which we are using. So now what we want to do is we have kind of enriched our process. If you want to arrange it more nicely, you can do like this, right? And what we want to do, we want to execute it. Let's test it out. Save. Okay. So the data is going through, and let's straight away come to this one. Do you see one record getting inserted where we have the employee ID, we have the name, we have the location, and we have the notice period? Everything is working as expected, isn't it? And the ones for which there is no location are coming to this branch. Yes. Which branch? False branch, right? Any questions from anyone before we move ahead? Guys, this is important to understand. This may be a small example, but we have added a lot of new shapes. We understood how can stop shape alter the flow of execution. We understood about the decision shape, how the behavior of the decision shape will change when we have one document with multiple occurrences of a specific element. Then we talked about the data process shape. Then in the map shape, we have explored a new category of the function called as a scripting. We have also understood how to set the default values in the map while doing the mappings. Any questions around this?
No, Sumit.
All good so far? Okay, if we are fine, let's move ahead. Now, all the employees which did not had location, right? Let's say that is an error data for me, right? And for this whole error data, I want to write an error file. Okay, I want to write a file. So there was a directory, let's say employee directory, and I want a new directory with the name error. And in that error directory, I want to write a file. And that should have the data consolidated for all the employees which are not considered for processing. So in which branch do I need to write the complete logic where I want to consolidate all such employees data which were not qualified for execution?
After false?
False.
False branch.
Very nice. In the false branch. So in the false branch, I should write the logic. So I will remove this placeholder. Okay. Now all the data which is coming in the false branch is not being considered for execution, right? So how many documents are we getting here right now for our use case? 3, right?
3.
Right? But I don't want to write as 3 separate files. I want to write it as a single file, right? So what should I try to do? If I want a single file out of 3 documents or a single document out of 3 documents.
Again, data process.
The process shape and combine the documents.
Okay, so we now need to try to use data process shape again, and we have to see like the way we did a split. Is there an opposite action to it? That is nothing but combining the document. Is there something which allows us to combine the documents? So I'll go to the data process shape again. I'll go to the processing step. And here, is there something like combined documents? Answer is yes. There is something like combined documents. Now, what type of profile should it be?
XML.
Very nice. It should be XML. And which profile? Profile will be same, right? And which element will be used to do the combination? The one which is repetitive, right? So I'll do this and I'll add a stop shape. I'll add a stop shape. And what I'll do is I'll remove the control from here for the time being. Okay. Because it does not make sense, right, to go and insert the data every time for all the executions. Okay, so I'll just add a stop shape. And here I'll choose the atom and I'll run the test. Please pay attention, guys. This is very, very important. Okay. So we come here to the stop shape. How many documents should come to this stop shape? The one which is in the
One.
false branch.
1.
And how many employees data should it hold?
3.
All right, let's check it out. Shape source data. There is one document which is correct. That's the correct answer, that it is having only one employee data. And now in this, there is employee number 1, 2, and 3, right? So these all do not have the location. Very nice. So we have been able to combine the data. Now what is the next thing we need to do? We need to write it into a file, right? Now this is a document right now, and we have to write it as a file in some directory. So which connector do we use to perform the file related operations?
Disconnector.
Disk only, right? So I'll add a disk. I'll add a disk. So when I'm adding this disconnector, right, I already had a disconnector. So should I create a new connection, or I should try to reuse the connection?
Reuse.
Reuse. Why should we reuse the connections?
Because licensing is based on that.
Yes, very nice. Licensing is based on the number of connections you consume. So if you create multiple connections of even the same connector, then also you will be charged as many times as is the number of connections, right? So here, one important thing is the connector is disk. What should be the action?
Send.
Very
You're
nice.
writing on it, right?
Very nice. Action has to be send, not get, because we are writing the file now, and the connection has to be reused. So please do not hit plus button again and create a new connection. Where can I find all my connections? Here, right? And what is the operation that I need to write? So I'm saying disk write employees data. So it's saying create a directory if it does not exist. Okay, I will say, okay, I want to create a directory. Create directory if it does not exist. And file naming conventions are create unique name if file exists, overwrite if file exists. There are a lot of things. I'll go with the first one, create unique name if file exists, save, right? Did I specify anywhere the directory? The directory remains this one, right? Because directory was part of the connection, isn't it? So where is it going to write the file?
In the D directory.
D directory.
In the D directory under employees folder, isn't it?
Yes.
In the D directory under employees folder, it is going to write a file, and let's observe the behavior. Okay, so let us run it again.
We don't need to add a stop in the last.
We can add, even if we don't add, it will not throw any error. See, adding stop shape is a graceful thing we do. If we don't add, it does not throw any error. Okay, even if it in true I don't add it, it is not going to throw an error. But yeah, it's good practice to add that. I should have added that. Okay.
Okay, Sumit.
All right. So now things got executed. We'll go back here under the employees folder. Do you see any new file apart from the ones which we created?
Yes, one data file is there.
It's that file with .dat extension. Okay. And name is some random number. Let me try to open this file. Do you see this is the file? This is the file which we wanted to write. But first of all, it is not getting written to the right directory. The second thing is the name of the file doesn't look to be correct to me, right? Isn't it? But do you see the content of the file is as per the expectation? Yes or no?
Yes.
The content of the file seems to be perfect. The only issue is with the name of the file and the directory of the file, right? In the connection, if I go and change the directory, what is going to happen? It might work right for the right operation, but what about the read operation? Read operation will get impacted or not? Yes. So what I will probably do is, whenever we want to override the directories, right? I think I made a statement some days back while reading the file. Maybe you cannot override the directory. I think you can. So there is a way where we can override the directories from where we want to read the files or where we want to write the file, because your connector will allow you to give one location only. So generally in real time, when you work for the projects, they will keep directory as empty. Okay, they'll keep directory as empty, and the directory value will be always specified with the help of a very, very important shape, which we have not introduced so far. And the name of that shape is set property shape. This is a very, very important shape. There is a new shape called as a set property shape. This shape will help you to define and set the value of different properties. What are the different properties we have? We have document property. We have dynamic document property. We have process property. We have dynamic process property. And there is one more. What is that? There is something like, I think, MIME properties. Okay, you don't need to, you will gradually start remembering what are the properties we have. Okay, a lot of people until the end of the training also, they'll be always confused about all these properties. I'll try to make sure that you understand it well. Okay, so these are the different properties we have. And for setting the values of these properties, which shape do we have? Set property shape. Okay, so what do you think, in which category should set property shape fall? It is helping to, you know, setting the value for certain properties.
I think connect.
So connect means, connect with mean that when you're talking to the third party,
Execute.
it should fall into the execute category is what I feel. And if you see, there is a set property shape under the execute, because when I say because manipulating the data means even assigning the values to certain variables is part of the manipulating the data. So if you go here, before I call my disk connector for writing the file, I am adding a set property shape because I want to set certain property. So for every connector, there are some properties which you can override. So those properties you can define either in the connection or operation, and you can always override. And for disk connector, directory is one such property which can be overridden with the help of a set property shape. So I'll just copy and paste. I'll just make it look more presentable. So I double click on set property shape. If you read, the set property shape allows you to set values for various document and process property. These properties can be used to set outbound connector attributes. Okay, it is saying outbound. Okay, and other day I said for reading the file, probably we cannot override, but one of our trainees told that maybe we can try. We will give it a try. Okay, but generally what it is written, these properties can be used to set outbound connector attributes. Now, when you are working in integration world, these two words you will hear very frequently: inbound and outbound. And these are general words, not only used in the integration industry, but other ecosystems also. But it is important to understand, inbound means something which is bringing the control towards you. Outbound means which is taking the control away from you, right? The control is brought towards you, right? And outbound means the control is moving away from you. Now this inbound and outbound statements, whatever we make, right, these are always relative to the application. So if I am an integration guy, I will always try to define this inbound and outbound relative to BOOMI, right? But if there is a ERP guy, that ERP guy will think of inbound and outbound relative to, let's say, ERP, right? If there is a CRM guy, he will think inbound and outbound relative to CRM. So whenever you are in a conversation and people are talking about inbound and outbound and you are not getting them properly, always try to clarify that when we are saying inbound, is it in relation to the source system, or in relation to the target system, or in relation to the integration framework or integration platform, right? So now when I'm writing the file, the control is going away from the BOOMI. That is why it is called as an outbound call. When I'm trying to read something inside BOOMI, that is called as an inbound call, right? So this database call which I'm doing over here, is it an outbound call or an inbound call?
Outbound.
It's an outbound call. If I was performing a select operation, if I was performing let's say I was trying to read some data from this database, then whether it was an inbound call or outbound call.
Inbound.
Inbound means you will get the data inside, or basically when somebody calls you and brings the control inside your system, right? So right now it's an outbound call, and here I go to the set property shape. I click on the properties to set. So if you go to the drop down, how many properties you have? You have document property, you have
Dynamic document.
very nice dynamic process, mime property, and process property. Did I write the same stuff over here in my notes? Document, dynamic document, process, dynamic process, and mime property, right? So which one we have to choose right now might be confusing for you. So when we have to override the properties related to the connectors, that will always be under document property. So these are some of the standard properties in relation to the different connectors we have, which you can override with the help of a set property shape. So now, so you can see a lot of connectors, and it is not only about connectors. There are something called as trading partners also, which you cannot park, which you can park for the timing. Right now, we'll focus on the connector part. So which connector should we choose over here? Disk, right? And in the disk, there are two options, file name and directory. So right now I want to talk about directory. So what should be the value of the directory?
D drive employees.
Okay, and let's say error, not employees, because I don't want the data to go to the or my,
It will be into other folder, right?
yes. Okay, this is done. I'll say okay, save, and let's run it. Okay, before I run it, I just want to show you, do we have any directory with the name employees underscore error? No, right? We don't have anything. So now I'll go and I'll just run the test. Okay, we run the test, everything got executed. We'll straight away jump over here. Do we see a new folder? If you see the timestamp 21st April 10:04 IST, can you see a new file? Okay, so now the problem is, or one problem in employees, file didn't get written, right? File is getting written in which folder? Employees underscore error. But is the name of the file correct? The name of the file, let's say, has to be error underscore and the timestamp when this error got generated .xml. Yes. So now, what do you think? How can we take care of that? In the same set property shape, I will add another property for the, just so make sure you select the right connector. And this time, what is the property I will choose? File name. So in one set property shape, we can set the value for multiple properties. For first property, this is the value. And for second one, what is the name? I'm saying the name will be, let's say, error underscore. That error underscore part is hard coded. But what I want to append to this, the current date and time. So I will say plus again. And this time, apart from static, also there are some options. Do you see any option for date and time?
Yes, sir. Day/month.
Okay, so it is asking me in which format you need. I will say I need in, let's say, this format, and I need the current date. So please understand this carefully. For the file name, I selected first and then second this. So these will automatically get appended to each other. These all will automatically get concatenated to each other. So this, what will be the file name? Error underscore the date timestamp. And what else do we need? Extension of the file? Yes or no?
Yes, dot XML.
What should be the extension? .xml. So I will add one more plus, and this time it will be hard coded .xml. So what I'm trying to say is, to create the file name, I am concatenating three things and it automatically gets concatenated. First one was a static thing. Second thing was a parameter. What kind of a parameter? Date, time type of parameter. Third thing is again static, and these three will get concatenated to make the file name. So how many properties have we overridden over here? Two properties, right? One is directory and other is file name. And which shape we are using? We are using set property shape. Correct? What type of properties are these? These are document properties. Yes, I'll hit OK, save, and now run the test again. Okay, it is throwing an error. So this first time I think we are seeing an error. This red color mark indicates there is an error, and the error is error attempting to create a new file. So something is going wrong. There is a filter, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it is saying there is some issue. We'll look at it. First, we'll see what went as an input over here. Okay, so the input is fine. It is saying some issue. Sometimes logs are not descriptive enough. That's fine. I think I know what is the issue. I'll go here. I'll just check. It is saying create unique name if file exists. So this is fine. Create directory is also fine. Now what has happened, I think, is in the file name, we have selected the date format, which is T with single quotes, and maybe that is not allowed in your Windows machine. So for now, I will choose this format of the date. I will choose a different format of the date, save, and run it again. Now everything works absolutely fine, right? What we'll do is we'll go back in the D drive. Okay, there is a directory employees underscore error. Can you see a XML file now? Error underscore date and timestamp, and this time the extension is XML file. I right click on this and I'll say edit with notepad++, and you see the correct data, which means now we have been able to write a file to a designated directory with the name which is more descriptive, and that name is a combination of some of the static things and few other things are dynamic. So the date was a dynamic thing and the error underscore part was a static thing. And how could I do that? With the help of a set property shape. Anyone who is not following it? So set property shape can not only override the value for the disconnector. There might be some other connectors which we'll see in the coming sessions. Even for those, it can help you to override certain values.
Sumit, can you open disk connection once? Okay. Fine.
It is same. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much from my side. I hope we have covered some more new shapes, right? So I'll share this recording across. Please,